You're listening to WMNF Tampa, Music and News.
The opinions presented on the Healthy Steps show are the evidence-based opinions of Dr. Fred Harvey, the callers, and his guests. These are not the opinions of the staff, the volunteers, or the board of WMNF. The information provided on the show is not intended to diagnose or treat any disease. There is no implied patient-physician relationship in these calls. The nature of the calls is educational and informational only.
Good morning to you, my dear listener, my cherished friend who always keeps your radio tuned to WMNF Tampa, the only station that they stream in Ulthar, and you can stream us as well at WMNF.org. There is nothing that I enjoy doing more on a lovely Monday morning than helping Dr. Harvey with the AMA show, the Ask Me Anything element of the Healthy Steps show. And by golly, by gosh, to my elation, today is Ask Me Anything Monday. So, no fooling around now. You know what you gotta do. If you have any medical questions or concerns, give us a call at 813-239-9663. Irene came in today to take your call, and believe you me, Irene is happier than a robin in the springtime sun every time she answers the phone. So again, that number to call is 813-239-9663. And you can also send an email to dj@wmnf.org or text us at 813-433-0885. Good morning to you, Dr. Harvey. You know that it is not just simple Vedic utterings when I say that you are going to have a great show today. Ask Me Anything Monday always brings out great listeners with great questions. So let's crank this on up and get started. What have you got in store for us today, Dr. Fred?
Once again, thanks to Bill for a wonderful intro. Even when he's not working the boards, he leaves us with some good words. And welcome, Healthy Steppers. Glad you're here and ready to engage in some interesting topics. I wanted to review something. Last week, I led with some interesting things about the reason that we need to get artificial chemicals out of our environment. And we had a discussion about the difficulty in getting fragrance out of things. And since so many large manufacturers continue to put poison fragrances into things that we use as cosmetics, in our laundry, et cetera, et cetera. I think it was last week, there was another study published. It was a bit longer ago. Cancer cases in under 50-year-olds worldwide up nearly 80% in 3 decades. Recent study. This was done actually in the fall of last year, and there's follow-up from that. The reason I mention this is that I've been noticing in the alternative medical press this thing that they're talking about turbo cancers. And so many people are blaming the mRNA genetic experiment shots that were used for the COVID-19 pandemic. And I believe that as the vaccine autism people are a little confused, these people are also, because it doesn't work that way. There's no one line item that causes everything, just like there's no panacea. There's no one magic bullet that cures everything. What we're looking at here is toxicity. And our government, in its fascist capacity of colluding with corporations to get their profits higher, doesn't really think much about human health, especially in America, since we've only banned about 18 different chemicals, whereas in Europe they've banned about 1,800 because they actually think about these things. So what we're looking at here, this is 3 decades of increasing cancer cases in young people. That's toxicity. The artificial colors, the artificial flavors, the fragrances that are artificial and derived from petrochemical organic compounds are all interfering. We call them xenobiotics. They're foreign to biology, but they come from biology that's been altered by industry. And so our turbo cancers are happening because humans are much more toxic than ever. And when you get a genetic experimental shot, you can disrupt the immune system and cause some problems with recognition of the cancers or ability to actually attack them because your immune system's junked up. So the bottom line is, yes, we have a large problem to deal with, but it's not something that we can't do, as a caller alluded to last time. What we can do is stop buying products that have fragrance, colors, flavors, sweeteners, and things in it that are all made from petrochem. We don't need to support the chemical industry of America by using its products. I mean, really, we can eat naturally. And so another issue that came through, cancer rates continue to increase around the world in young people under 50. And what they're looking at here is this is in environmental letters, and why the UN Treaty on Plastics can reduce early onset cancers. Definitely worth looking at this article because it's talking about how we can go forward in reducing endocrinologically active compounds in plastics. And so if we actually make a concentrated effort to do this and stop buying products that have stuff in it, we don't have to buy Fabuloso. It's poison. We don't have to buy Gain detergent. That permanent fragrance is killing us. Stop. It's easy. Just make a choice to not use it. That's the thing. It's a personal choice. We all have the ability to make personal choice. And my show is about helping people understand how to make better choices, what to look for so that you don't have to promote cancer. You know, stop smoking cigarettes because every cigarette has 0.4 micrograms of cadmium in it. Cadmium contributes to the breast cancer and lung cancer problem that is associated with smoking cigarettes. We just got to be smart about it. Common sense is something that's just not common, but it would be nice if it were. And we need to focus on how to actually look at the simple data, the simple things that are obvious right in front of us so we can actually act on those things. We have to be able to act or we can't do it. We have to know what to act on or we can't do it. And so that addressed, I'd like to move on to another interesting concept. I've heard so many times people don't want to take the drug Synthroid. Synthroid is it's a treatment for low thyroid. It's actually called levothyroxine. And levothyroxine is a hormone that your thyroid makes. When your thyroid gets diseased, it doesn't make as much, and then you feel tired because thyroid is the principal energy chemical for the body. It tells everything to turn on. It's the on switch. And so many people have been diagnosed with hypothyroidism over years. And a recent study links this popular thyroid drug. Actually, it's called by endocrinologists, open quotes, the gold standard, close quotes. I'm not sure it's a gold, and I'm not sure it's a standard, but it is what they all use because they're unwilling to consider other options generally. And so what this study found is that people who are treated with the thyroid drug, Synthroid, people who are older, seniors, are subjected to this medication, but when they are followed by the endocrinologists and their primary care doctors, they're found to have actually a normal thyroid function testing. So the TSH is a common test that's used, and the TSH looks normal, and the thyroid hormones look normal. But even in this normal range, people are actually having accelerated bone loss. And so they're getting osteoporosis despite normal thyroid levels. It's long been known that when you overdose on thyroid, you can get osteoporosis. But this is new information. And it's interesting to listen to what the health experts were saying about this, the people that ran the study and the people that are endocrinologists talking about it. And one of the most important things they said is that you have to have an appropriate dose. Well, so these people do have an appropriate dose. But when you're 81 and you've been taking it for 6 years, there's a good chance you're going to develop breakdown of bone tissue. Why is that? Well, thyroid hormone causes metabolism, and you have to burn fuel to increase metabolism. And so if someone's not taking in enough calories overall, and they get a signal from thyroid medicine to burn calories, they're going to start scavenging material from within the body. And one of the first places things get stolen from is the bones. Bone protein gets metabolized, and then the bone starts to break down. So what I see here is a convergence of a couple of things. I don't believe the thyroid is causing, and even the doctors that talk about it say it's not causing it. And I think they're right. I think the problem is that elderly people tend to eat less calories. We have a problem with something called sarcopenia, loss of muscle mass of the body. And that's because your body requires at least 50 grams of protein to maintain the skin, hair, nails, and bone, just to maintain it, and the lining of your gut. If you're doing things that abuse the lining of your gut, like drinking alcohol that you don't need and eating lots of gluten and things that your gut reacts to, you might actually need even more protein to save your gut from the insults that you're hitting it with. And then you're going to even have to be 75 or 100 milligrams of grams of protein a day. And so what I see is older people tend to eat less food. Think about it. To get your 50 grams of protein, you need a half chicken breast. You need a half a can of tuna, and you need a half a cup of cottage cheese. That would get you to around 50 grams of protein. I think there's a lot of people that don't get that much protein in a day. But it's already 10:17, and I want to remind everybody this is the Healthy Steps Show on WMNF Tampa, America's and the world's greatest little radio station. The number to call and engage is 813-239-9663, or you can email at dj@wmnf.org. And I do believe we already have some callers. Is Kurt on the line?
Yes, here's Kurt coming up.
Hello, Kurt.
Hello, how you doing, Dr. Harvey?
Excellent. How are you today?
Oh, good to hear, good to hear. I'm fine at Jim Dan. Thank you. I've got a question. My granddaughter will be 3 in January, and she has eczema pretty bad, and they've got a topical medicine they put on that really causes her quite a bit of discomfort. Is that an immune-based reaction, eczema?
Yeah, eczema is a skin disease that is often associated with allergy and asthma too. And quite often these skin reactions are triggered by things from our environment. Sometimes you can get an exacerbation of these rashes by having a strep infection. Sometimes it can be ongoing use of pasteurized dairy or gluten grains, artificial chemicals. There's all kinds of things that can do it. But I think the first thing to do is to really evaluate the diet as overall and really move to a whole foods diet and really consider eliminating, for the time being, dairy and gluten products to see if the rash will get better. Also, fish oil is a really good thing to help stabilize the skin, as is vitamin D. All these things that can be really helpful.
Well, I know they've switched her off of whole milk, and she is on oatmeal milk and what's the other one? Almond milk. I know they've switched her off that. She's still on a bottle. She consumes quite a bit of it. But I'm going to pass that on to my daughter and son-in-law. Hopefully it'll help them. Because it's miserable to see the tiny little thing in so much pain and discomfort. Yeah. That's why I called you to see if I could get to the root. Thank you kindly.
No, you say she's 3 and she's still on a bottle?
Oh, yeah.
Let's reconsider some of that feeding process there. That may be contributing.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you, sir. I appreciate you.
You're so very welcome. Have a great day.
Bye-bye.
Is Bernard available?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Yes. My question is, the last 3 years, 3 of my childhood friends have died from aneurysm, and I'm trying to find out, can you kind of let us know what that is and how that come about? And is there any type of supplement that I can take to help prevent that? I've listened to it off the air.
Okay. Thanks, Bernard, for that question. Aneurysms. Aneurysms are a balloon-like dilation of your blood vessel, generally speaking of an artery where the pressure is higher. Some people get aneurysms in their brain and they can have those rupture and they die from a bleeding type of stroke. Other people get aneurysms in the other parts of the body, specifically the aorta, the main artery coming from the heart, is well known to get aneurysms, sometimes in the chest and sometimes in the belly because it's a big, long artery. And sometimes that aneurysm will dissect, which is basically cutting through it. Essentially, they ruptures, and then the person dies from an acute bleeding episode. And so the real underlying process in the arterial stuff in the belly and the chest, that's hardening of the arteries. In the brain, though, that's often genetic. And a malformation happens in the brain, and then at some point pressure gets too high and that ruptures. There's not much to do to prevent the aneurysm in the brain, but to prevent its rupture is to control blood pressure and keep the blood vessels healthy. But for the rest of the system, all the things to do for maintaining vascular health are really important. So avoiding excess sugar intake and exercising regularly, doing things to reduce your stress, eating a rainbow of vegetables, 5 to 8 servings of vegetables a day, 2 servings of low glycemic fruit like berries and apples, eating whole grains like oats, and eating lean meat and fish to get enough protein to maintain the vascular muscular structure is really important. And then vitamins and supplements that help to maintain good vascular health include all your B vitamins. You want to take a good multivitamin with all your B vitamins and some trace minerals like magnesium and manganese and vanadium. These are all very helpful for running the system. And then fish oil, very important. If you eat oily fish like salmon, sardines, anchovies, and mackerel, you probably don't need to take as much fish oil. But if you don't, you really should be on a couple of grams of fish oil a day to help maintain blood vessel health. I think those are some really good ways to go. And if you do think you have an aneurysm, you might want to go get checked, get some vascular screening done. There are many places that do it fairly cheaply, too. They have a lot of tractor-trailer trucks that run around full of equipment and show up at churches and other places to do really cheap screening to check for vascular disease, considering that cardiovascular disease is the #1 killer for the world and for all of America. So paying attention to that, I think, is really, really important. It looks like, oh, we do have somebody. There's one, Mary Ann. Vascular screening done. There are many places that do it fairly cheaply, too. Hello there. I hear something in the background, but it doesn't sound like a caller.
Oh, she's on.
Hello?
Yeah, she is. Hey, Marianne, you're on.
I can't hear anybody talking right now except for some background noise.
Am I on?
There she is. Hi, Marianne.
Oh, okay, because I hear you on my radio, so I better stay on the phone. Yes, I'm Marianne. I guess you're my doctor, I guess.
Oh, I'm not. I'm just a guy who's answering some questions for information.
Oh, no, that sounds like Dr. Harvey.
Yes, this is Dr. Harvey.
Yeah, I am your patient.
Oh, wonderful. Hi.
I haven't heard from you forever, but anyway, you were talking about thyroid. I better get my medication because I'm really concerned about that because I do have osteoporosis. Let me get my medicine to see what I'm taking. Oh,
Please turn off your radio.
It's a combination of a level.
Please turn off your radio.
Something and then another compound that's done by a compound pharmacy. So I wonder if I should change that.
No, you don't change anything when you're on a phone call on the radio. what you do is make an appointment with a doctor who can actually help you make a change.
Well, yes, but you're seeing me, so my regular doctors would not know what else to do.
Yes. So the way I evaluate thyroid is I listen to the patient's history to find out what their actual lifestyle's like to make sure they're getting enough protein to support it. And then when somebody's already on the thyroid medication, I do a full thyroid panel with a TSH, a free T3, a free T4, a reverse T3, and sometimes even thyroid antibodies if I don't know if the person has Hashimoto's disease already. But if I do know that, then I don't reorder them generally. But then we make a decision about how to alter the thyroid hormone replacement therapy.
Mm-hmm. But if I understood what you were saying, and I'm not sure I did, the compound that I'm taking are two kinds of thyroid medicine may affect my bone density?
Lots of things may affect your bone density. There is a recent study that suggests that people who are over, say, 65 and take the levothyroxine for 6 years have a lowered bone density. And it seems to correlate with it, but it isn't necessarily causative. And so I wouldn't change my thyroid medication. I would look and see if I'm actually doing the right things to support thyroid health or actually bone health, because that's really the key thing.
Which is?
Finding out if you have a lifestyle that supports proper bone health.
No, but I mean, what kind of diet do you think is, I think I get enough protein a day.
Yeah, so what you do is you go online and you find a protein calorie counter like mycaloriecounter.com or similar places, and then you enter in all of the data for your food, and it'll tell you if you've eaten enough protein, or you just calculate it yourself because there are tables of how much protein there is in things. And so you need to get minimum 50 grams of protein a day to maintain your bone, skin, hair, and nails. But if you have low bone density already, you need more than that. So what you need is a clinician, either a dietitian or a doctor, to help you understand how much protein you need and how to get it and how to best support your bone health.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's the best thing for my thyroid replacement thing?
No, that's the best thing for every human.
No, I understand. But I'm concerned with the medication I'm taking anyway. Okay.
Right. So what you need to do is talk to a doctor about the medication in person and get labs to assess whether or not the medication is right at this time. That's the way that works.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Dr. Harvey.
You're very welcome, Marianne. Have a great day.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. I think Greg is on the phone.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Hi there.
Hey there. Hey, this has been a question I was going to ask you a long time ago, but it kind of waxes and wanes. But Dr. H, I've got an insatiable appetite. When I go to Whole Foods to get my organic chicken, oftentimes I eat the entire chicken.
Wow.
Yeah, and I am a very active. I'm a competitive athlete, so I go through a lot of training and calories. Yeah. I think a lot. I own a company. I'm working. I own rentals. I'm constantly busy, which I enjoy. I'm active. I'm passionate about pretty much everything I do. So I think I'm just burning calories. But what it's typical for me in the last several months, if not this past year, that after dinner, and I usually have some steamed organic potatoes, entire head of broccoli. I'll do a big piece of salmon or 2 pieces of salmon or half a chicken, or if not more. An hour later, I'm starving. My thyroid studies are fine. I don't know what's going on. I don't know if it's an emotional thing, but I seem to crave like popcorn, and I'm off dairy, but it used to be my go-to would be cheese at night. So I don't know what's going on. If you could weigh in on maybe something I should look at, or do I just need that many calories? I don't know.
Well, competitive athletes do need a lot of calories. 6,000, 8,000 calories a day is not unusual for a competitive athlete. And so that could be it. But it may be worth it for you to see somebody who does a metabolic workup, not just your thyroid stuff, but I mean, maybe looking at your MVO2 max. Maybe you burn calories faster than other people. It's a good question. It's possible. I mean, you don't have, doesn't sound like you have gastrointestinal problems, but an ongoing hunger could mean maybe you have an H. pylori infestation, whatever. It's not really an infection, but you can have H. pylori in your belly and it makes you feel hungry all the time.
Yeah, it's remarkable. Okay. I will look into maybe trying to find a practitioner out here who can address that, once again in your line of work, because I think most MDs go through a different thought process with that. So
yeah, they really do. So you want a functional doctor. You need to get to a functional medicine practitioner. You go to ifm.org and find somebody close to you.
ISM is an indigo.
I as in institute, F as in functional, M as in medicine, ifm.org.
Got it. Hey, thanks for weighing in. Have a great week. Thank you.
You too. Have great holidays.
Happy holidays. Bye.
Elena has a problem.
I don't know. It's called incontinence. It's a frequent situation that has happened now with me during the night, like every 3 or 4 hours. I have this urge to go to the bathroom to urinate, and I don't know what's causing it. I'm 70 years old.
So is this happening only at night, or is it happening in the day too?
Not much during the day.
Okay. Well, there is something that has come up clinically for me, and that women that have frequent nighttime urination might have sleep apnea.
But I do sleep very well, and it annoys me because I'm in this sleep. Then I say, gee, I have to get up.
Yes. And that is often what women who have sleep apnea tell me, is they just get this urge to go to the bathroom. And then we find out that they had an urge to go to the bathroom because they were actually dying from asphyxia because their oxygen level was so low. It woke them up. And then they said, oh, okay, I'll go to the bathroom.
So is there anything I can use? I don't know what to do.
I would go to a sleep doctor and get screened for sleep apnea.
Okay.
And I also consider having the regular doctor check your urine to see if there's a low-grade infection.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. I do have an appointment coming up, so I will ask him to do that.
Very good. Best wishes on that.
Sure. Thanks for everything. Thank you. Have a good day. Okay.
You're welcome.
Bye-bye.
You too. I think we have Connie on the line.
Hello. Yes, I'm here. I've been calling frequently because I'm a new listener, and I just want to say before I ask my question, I really, really appreciate your service to this community by doing the show. This is fantastic. I could probably call you every week with a question. I will.
There are some people who do.
Well, I will try to restrain myself and allow others the opportunity. But what popped up first of mine, and this is what I told Irene, the call screener, was that I wanted to know your thoughts on the Bernie Sanders-led Senate hearings last week, kind of grilling the current FDA commissioner about the food and beverage companies. But I have a question I thought of while I was waiting in line with your thyroid part at the beginning.
Yes.
I am on levothyroxine. I've been on it for quite some time. But I've never heard the osteoporosis thing, which made me think, gosh, he's really providing a service here. I've never heard of that correlation.
Wow.
What I want to know is, how do cruciferous vegetables affect the thyroid? And then the Bernie Sanders.
Okay, so cruciferous vegetables in the thyroid, the sulfur components of that, the active components that really help our immune system and help detox, they can bind up with the thyroid, I believe either the receptor, they do something to change it. So excess thyroid or excess broccoli has been called out as possibly creating a false hypothyroidism. Not sure. I've never seen it. But yeah, I think, if you're eating pounds of broccoli a day, maybe you want to consider a different vegetable. But I've never seen anybody eat enough of the cruciferous vegetables to actually affect their thyroid.
Okay, that's good to know. Okay.
And then, as far as your Synthroid, I would just make sure that you get the right diet and lifestyle to maintain your bones when you're on Synthroid.
Well, I have contacted your office for whatever it is on your website to start a screening or whatever process.
Okay. Wonderful. We'll talk. In the meantime, Bernie, I love Bernie. He's the only independent senator that is actually independent because he takes only small donations. And so he's able to talk truth to the fascist corporate hegemony that controls our news and everything. And so I was thrilled when he spent 24 hours doing a filibuster on the Senate floor. It turned into a book. He can continue to do that as long as he lives, as far as I'm concerned, because what he says is real. And the Financial Drug Administration is actually owned by pharmaceutical corporations. I don't think Americans know that, but considering that the entire upper echelon staff is all former pharma, they collude. That's called fascism. And that's just the way the system works, because that's just business. And we just have to accept that's the way it is and figure out how not to get poisoned. And so we have to take everything that the Financial Drug Administration approves with a grain of salt. Because, during the pandemic, they approved an Alzheimer's medication that doesn't work and kills people. But they thought somebody might want to buy it anyway. With all that history, I'm not sure why anybody would want to buy it. But the statement from the FDA commissioner saying that that's why he's approving it says that he's wanting to fill the coffers of pharma, not to help with the health of Americans. And so, yes, we have a lot of work to do. I don't know what RFK or any of the Trump administration is going to do to this. And so this is just, we're going to wait and see. I don't have a whole lot of faith that anything's going to move the capitalist juggernaut called the American fascist government. It's going to move on. The completely deceptive commission tries to deceive us, and the Financial Drug Administration tries to make sure that pharma makes money. That's what I see. It's unfortunate that I've become that cynical about the system, but I've been watching it.
Yeah. Well, I caught that hearing by chance on C-SPAN, and I didn't watch the entire thing, I will admit, but the part where it was in the, I would say, first half hour to 45 minutes of it, I think, where he was really grilling the commissioner about, the ingredients in the food and the advertising budgets of Coca-Cola and 15 grams of sugar, blah, 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 and the obesity epidemic amongst youngsters and adults. And he says, I don't remember what the FDA commissioner said, but Bernie Sanders said, it's your job to know. And he had no response. So I just wondered if you watched that hearing. It was fantastic. And I will end my call.
The thing is, we tell ourselves that's his job, but in actuality, his job is to make sure that pharma gets paid. Unfortunately, that's what I see.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
Bye.
I think we have Todd on the line.
Good morning.
Hi there.
Just a question.
Yes, sir.
For 3 years now, I was suffering with all kinds of bouts of pneumonia, had MRSA show up, and finally 18 months ago they diagnosed me with an NTM, non-tuberculosis microbacteria.
Yes.
So for the last 18 months, I've been on IV ports and 2 oral antibiotics. I'm off the IV ports, but now I'm on a nebulizer antibiotic. So I've been on 3 antibiotics for 18 months. My breathing is not terrible, but I keep having bouts where the MRSA will pop up. Basically, I constantly run a low-grade fever. There's some days I wake up for an hour, I'm fine, and then after that, I'm back in bed. All the CAT scans and the sputum tests still show positive. There's no improvement. Any ideas from you?
Well, I'm going to go back a couple of centuries and talk about a guy named Pasteur, Louis Pasteur realized that the mold penicillium contained this interesting property that killed bacteria.
Mm-hmm.
So he gave us penicillin. And he and his colleagues had some understanding about our physical reality. And they found that these bacteria cause problems and they could kill them with these fungal byproducts. But their underlying understanding of our reality is that it's the terrain, it's not the bacterium. What they're saying is it's what your body's doing that sets you up for the bacterial infection. So my question to your doctors is, what is their diagnosis for your physical predisposition to these infections? Because the infection is not the problem. It's an issue, but the problem is that you get the infections. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I do suffer from COPD, which doesn't help.
COPD does set you up there, but it does, most people with COPD don't have NMT and they don't have recurrent pneumonia. They plug along. Okay. So what is it about you that you are susceptible to these things? And I don't think that your infectious disease doctor, your pulmonary doctor, or anybody else is going to actually evaluate why or what.
Okay.
So I think it would be really helpful for you to go and see a functional medicine doctor so that you can find out what it is about you that makes you uniquely susceptible to all these infections. Because if we can fix you, the infections actually might stop bothering you.
Okay. All right. Yeah, because my pulmonologist would like to do a biopsy to see what else was in my lungs besides the COPD and the bacterium.
Yeah.
And at this point, I'm like, okay. And he said, well, I run the risk of a collapse lung and all that. And everybody has told me it's a long process. And I'm like, well, how much is long?
Yes.
And
I see a few people that have NMT, have seen them over the years, and generally it actually doesn't cause them much problem because we're working on keeping their body healthy. So IFM, Institute for Functional Medicine.org. They have a doctor finder. Find somebody close to you and go see them.
Okay. I appreciate that because I'm tired of it.
Yeah, I don't doubt it. Best wishes there.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
You have a great day.
You too. And have nice holidays. Bye-bye. Looks like the board might be gone cold there for a moment. So I'll just remind everybody, this is the Healthy Steps Show. I'm Dr. Fred Harvey, and you can talk with me right now, 813-239-9663, or email dj@wmnf.org. I'm waiting for your calls. Glad to talk with you. In the meantime, Joe, is there anybody on the boards?
No, not currently.
All right. So, we're coming into we're really in it. We're in the low light season, and that goes on for another couple months. And I just saw this interesting book review. The book is called Starved for Light. And the byline is interesting. Rickets. I don't know. Nobody talks about rickets these days because we just don't. But rickets first struck the elite who sat indoors while peasants toiled. Blue bloods, the reason they're called blue bloods is because they never went outside because they thought that brown skin from the sun was bad. And so their skin was pretty much translucent. And you could see the blue veins through their translucent, never tanned skin. That's how they got the nickname blue bloods. And that basically meant that they were actually sick because they didn't get enough sunlight. While the elites sat in their manor houses and everybody else worked outdoors, they got rickets. The people outdoors didn't. The Industrial Revolution shifted the burden onto the urban poor, who basically are in these canyons that deprive people of light and work indoors all the time. But in some cities a century ago, 90% of the children showed some symptoms of rickets during wintertime. So rickets is vitamin D deficiency disease. It causes osteoporosis, essentially. It ruins your bones. And so rickets kids are bow-legged or knock-kneed, one or the other. They'll have misshapen spines. They'll have misshapen pelvises. King Charles I of England likely suffered from it, as did several Medici children. The bottom line here is that we need sunlight to thrive. And so, as I've said many times, I start my day with a walk. Right now, actually, I'm going out in the dark, unfortunately. But once the sun starts coming up a bit earlier, I'm going to be walking in sunlight. An early morning walk in the sun doesn't increase your risk of skin cancer. You don't need to slap on a bunch of sunblock before 10 o'clock. And that's where you're going to get some really good ultraviolet rays that aren't burning you, but actually trigger the conversion of cholesterol in your skin to vitamin D. Yes, cholesterol is the backbone of vitamin D. It's very important to have some cholesterol on board so you can make vitamin D. But as we see, the winter progress, it's likely that some people are going to get some bone problems. And it gets really a little muddled over time in that it seemed like racially, Black people suffered from rickets at a higher rate in the early late 19th, early 20th centuries. But really, the biggest thing there is that they were basically in tenements, confined essentially, and had very, very little light. And so, yes, it's coming more to light today that racial questions in medicine are actually due to racism in society quite often. So with that in mind, get out for your daily walk, get some sun, and prevent rickets. Also, increase your mood, turn back diabetes, and just have some fun listening to the birds squawk. And I love to watch the jays fight each other. There's always some kind of squawking match going on between the jays in the neighborhood. Yesterday's walk, I got to watch a squirrel and a hawk, 2 limbs apart, caging each other, watching, trying to figure out who was going to get the best on whom. It was an amazing battle. I have it on video. I'll probably post it to Facebook later. So cool. So we have another caller. Len, how are you doing?
Doing good. I just have a question about the pain I've been having in my back. I got rear-ended when I was 26. It did not bother me till I'm 50 years old now. My back, that's where the spot that gets hit, it's been swelling, and then my hand has been swelling as well, and I always feel it at nighttime.
Oh, so have you had this evaluated by a doctor?
That's the thing. I didn't go to the doctor when I got rear-ended because it did not bother me. But
right.
I was wondering why 26 later it started bothering me.
Well, sometimes when we get an injury, it will actually cause some tissue changes. You can get some scarring. You also might have some guarding of your posture because of pain due to the injury. And so your mind thinks about pain and you hold your body in a certain position that actually is a not functional position. So over time, protecting yourself from the pain that you experienced might actually create a musculoskeletal problem that persists. And then over time, you start to notice symptoms. And so that's why it may take 20 years. You also may have had some emotional injury at the time of the rear ending, and that could get trapped in the tissues. Things to do to actually help move it along would be, one, to actually have a doctor look at it now and take an X-ray to make sure you don't have some sort of bony problem, because you have pain going down to your arm. You could have a disc problem. You could have something going on there. I would make sure you don't have something more serious, and then consider working on the neck and back with chiropractic, craniosacral therapy, massage therapy, physical therapy. All these things can be very useful.
Okay, so do you think I should start with a chiropractic first?
I think you should start with some doctor to actually do a nice evaluation of your situation and try and figure out why you have the pain right now.
Okay, because what I'm trying to do is I thought it was something to do with my diet. That's why I've been having an inflammation, a lot of inflammation in that area through all the way to my hand. Do you think it's something to do with my diet too?
It almost always is. You'll have more inflammation if you're eating an inflammatory diet, that's for sure.
Okay. All right, well, thank you so much.
You're so very welcome.
Okay, bye-bye.
Have a great holiday. Is Norm available?
Yeah. Hey, how you doing, Dr. Harvey?
I'm doing well. Norm, how are you?
I'm hanging in there, always hanging in there. Listen, I wanted to ask you two things. You were talking about this a non-inflammatory diet, okay?
Yeah.
I mean, exactly what is a non-inflammatory diet? You know, and are there foods that are causing inflammation or inflammation specifically due to some sort of injury in what part of the body? You know, can you help me with that one? And also, we were talking about disparities, and I wanted to find out from you a slight discussion about disparities in terms of blood disorders, particularly those people who have suffered from sickle cell crisis, having the disparity of being not treated for pain, but when they do go in for treatment or for emergency treatment, they're treated so shabbily that they're deemed drug users rather than folks who. And what
really
is the field of medicine, or at least in your area, doing something about this? That's what I wanted to find out.
So, yeah, there really is a racial disparity in treatment of pain, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
There's been an erroneous messaging that had somehow made it through medical training that people of African descent have less pain tolerance, or more pain tolerance. And so they were regularly under-medicated for pain. And yes, I witnessed it when I was in my residency in West Philadelphia. It was a predominantly black neighborhood, and I saw...
Is that Kensington?
I'm sorry?
Is that Kensington area?
No, I was directly in West Philadelphia, Misericordia Hospital.
Okay, I'm just curious.
And I saw some really abusive practices. People with sickle cell were actually treated as inferior because they were seeking pain medication. And this is a nationwide, society-wide. We have a problem where, somebody like Hunter Biden is actually criminally charged when he's not a criminal. He's a dysfunctional human. Drugs ruin the ability to critically think. He was non compos mentis during those times. He couldn't actually make a decision to commit a crime. He just actually was negligent because his brain was dysfunctioning. We torture humans who have drug addiction problems with a penal criminal system that should be ended. It's a punishment for something that they should never be punished for. We have this weird Judeo-Christian moralistic damning of people that aren't like us, which is really sad, when it should be actually sharing and caring, not the other way around.
Let me ask you a question about you brought up Hunter Biden, and I find it intriguing because, when you look at his history, okay, there was a guy with a little boy who was in a car with his mother and his sister and their car gets hit by a truck. And he's a little kid. He sees his mother just really mangled and dead.
Yes.
Sister just head torn off.
Yes.
I mean, and you wouldn't expect that this kid, and he barely survives, okay? He remembers these things. And you wouldn't suspect that this kid would have some sort of traumatic, being that he how you put it, neurologically, he was still developing he was traumatized, and this carried him to adulthood, and yet they criminalized his treatment, his addiction. But you take a guy like Pete Headstrip, who says, I come out post war, and I from Princeton and Harvard, and I go to war, and I'm drinking alcohol and all that other foolishness, and yet that type of addiction is like swept under the cover. I just, it seemed, you brought that up, and I mean, it just intrigued me how these two different individuals, having suffered various trauma events in various stages earlier and then later, and yet one is rewarded, one is criminalized. I just,
people with trauma self-medicate, and our system ignores people with trauma. We morally judge them for self-medicating when a system that exists doesn't actually deal with trauma, and psychiatry isn't helping these people. People coming back from war with PTSD are on multiple psych medications, and they still commit suicide because they're not dealing with the spiritual trauma. The emotional, spiritual trauma, that's the deep trauma that needs lots of love and care. And unfortunately, we just don't do that in this society. And so, yes, it is a real issue with a disparity of judgment. People get judged regularly in their care, especially for pain. And it's really sad. But to answer your question about the anti-inflammatory diet, it's very simple. Whole foods. Avoid the center of the grocery store. Buy fruits, buy vegetables, buy lean meats, buy fish, buy non-pasteurized dairy. Get some whole oats, not cereal made from oats. These are the kind of things that are anti-inflammatory. You can easily do a online search for an anti-inflammatory diet. There are many of them out there. Most of them eliminate processed food, most grain, most dairy, and even some get rid of, most get rid of beans as well, because the beans can be very irritating to people with arthritis and other pains. So there are very simple ways of changing this. And one of the key things for that kind of good diet is to make sure you're getting your ounces in body weight in water a day to flush it out. So that is, I think we're down to the wire here. I can't take another call. It looks like actually no one emailed today. Fascinating. That's really unusual. But so the just to go back to the vitamin D and rickets thing, simple things like this are often missed. How often has anybody out there listening who has osteoporosis? Who out there? How has your doctor asked you how much time you spend outside getting sunlight? Do they ask you about how much you're walking every day? How in depth do we need to get to some of the simple things? It's just a couple questions I ask my clients just to find out, what are you doing to support your overall health? How are you supporting your mood? How are you turning back diabetes? Walking does that. Get your healthy steps in. This is a way of actually fixing your life so you don't have to actually get to the doctor to get fixed. My job is helping you figure out how you can promote your most health, not to prevent your illnesses. Because when you promote your most health, you tend not to get the illnesses. I'm really not caring much about prevention. I'm more caring about active health promotion. Because if you actively promote your health every day, you will be healthy. It's just what happens. No cures needed. In the meantime, I want to thank Joe for running the boards. I want to thank Irene for answering the phone calls. And I want to thank all you listeners for such a great show. Great engagement. See you again next week for another Ask Me Anything show. Take care.
You have been listening to the Healthy Steps Radio Show with Dr. Fred Harvey here on WMNF Tampa. Coming on up is 5 minutes of NPR News, and then strap in and get ready for the Sustainable Living Show hosted by the absolutely phenomenal team of Annie Ellis and Tanya Vidovic. Until next Monday at 10 a.m., thank you for listening and supporting the Healthy Steps Radio Show with Dr. Fred Harvey here on WMNF Tampa, your community-conscious radio station. Stay safe, stay thoughtful, and know that you are loved.